We're going to try this again. Alyssa Wolf from Red Wolf is going to join us. But if you saw it just earlier, I was sharing about what I love about the holidays and what, hey, how are you doing, King's Mom? And what I don't like about the holidays. And what I love about the holidays is the great food, the friends, getting together, the festive lights. What I cannot stand is all of the planning. You know, what are we going to do? What are we going to serve? What are we going to do? Who's going to host? Da 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 da. Like, there's no methodology to this whole process. So I was talking with my team, and I said, "Hey, team, how do we make this easier, right? Like, and avoiding stress and enjoying it is something that really makes a difference." And so I reached out to Alyssa because she's a great partner of the Wine Concierge and said, "Hey, out of the wines that you have, let's put together a package. Let's put a package together that makes entertaining, takes the thought out of what are you going to serve at your holiday table." Or I had friends coming over, you know, somebody likes something sweet, somebody likes something dry. What are we going to do? And so we put this 3-bottle trio together. And I see Alyssa now, but she's not smiling, which is not like her at all. So I'm not sure what's going on with her phone. So when if she's able to hear me, if you can put in the chat that you can hear me, if anybody out there on Earth One can hear me, just put in the chat you can hear me, because then I know it's not my phone, it is something else. Oh, she said she's going to restart because it's looping. And yes, she can hear me. Yes, we have life on Earth. So we put together this package, and I don't know if you can see it because I'm sitting down now. But we have a Chenin Blanc, a tawny port. Tawny port is going to change your life. And a Portuguese red blend. So we put this package together. I don't know if you can hold it up again. We put this package together because all of these wines are simple to enjoy. They're not complex. And that's one thing, that if you are serving for a mixed group of people, meaning you have individuals who have all different types of palates at a table, right? Because like at my house, of course, I'm the wine person. But then we have people who are spirits and like mixed beverages. We have my mom who likes to add ginger ale to her wine, or her favorite is Manischewitz. Yes, you know how that drives me crazy. And then we have my dad who is like ready to go for everything. And then there's people all in between. So when you have those varying tastes there, you need to have wines that are like middle of the road. You don't want to have anything that is so sophisticated and so really pedestrian. You want something that is pleasing to most palates, because you're not going to be able to please all of the palates, but most palates. And then you want to have something that's going to complement the food that is being served. So Alyssa says she's going to try again. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed, because I really want to hear what she has to say about this. And so that's how we selected these 3 wines here. The Chenin Blanc, and we're going to talk about each one of them, and the Pedro, and the 10-year tawny port. Oh, there she is. She is requesting. Let's see if we can bring her in. There we go. Let's see if we can bring her in. Fingers crossed, everyone. There she is.
Yay. Okay.
Yay. There you are. I
I'm
was,
choosing to blame technology, although it may have been user error, but whatever.
it's never your fault.
Never.
It's never your fault at all. So I was just sharing with everyone before you came that I had reached out to you and said, hey, let's put something together for Thanksgiving. But you can have these wines anytime. That is just like effortless. If you got these three wines, you would be set for Thanksgiving. Like you'd probably have to get multiples, but you would be set for Thanksgiving. And so you had suggested the Chenin Blanc,
Yep. Yeah.
the Portuguese red,
Yeah.
Padre,
Yeah.
and my favorite, the white tiny port.
White pour. Yes.
And so we put together this trio here for people just to go on, grab the trio. If you're responsible for the wine, to pick it up and head to the Thanksgiving dinner, for the dinner party, for cocktails. This is great for cocktails.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so why did you select these three?
So partially it's based on what I drink on Thanksgiving. I always drink Cop 6 Shannon on Thanksgiving. I actually need to, well, my hope is that my mom, who's not on Instagram, who's hosting, is going to buy a box so I don't have to go to my warehouse and get my own stock. But yes, every year since we started in the wine industry, since I've had wine on hand, Cop 6 Shannon has been on our Thanksgiving table. It is such a great crowd pleaser because Chenin kind of falls in between a Sauvignon Blanc and a Chardonnay. So you're people who like those really bright, zippy wines, and then you've got those people that like those big, bolder wines.
Mm-hmm.
Chenin's right in the middle. Plus, just because it's a fruitier style, the way that they chose to make the wine, it ends up matching with a wide range of foods. So Shannon's great with poultry. That's always true. We may open a Savinier, which is Shannon from the Loire, with a pork chop tonight. I know I just said poultry. I meant white meat because pork is not. But Shannon is great with poultry and great with white meat in general. It's also a really great wine for sweet and savory options. So think about your Thanksgiving table. You might have sweet potatoes. You might have cranberry sauce. But then again, you're going to have your stuffing, which is probably going to be more savory, more salty. Mashed potatoes with butter, same thing. So the Chenin will pair with all of those foods, absolutely no problem. But it's also a great bottle just to have while you're cooking, while you're sitting on the couch watching football, eating snacks and appetizers. It is, if I could have one wine in my fridge year round, just for when I'm like, oh, I just want a good glass of white, I would have that bottle in my fridge year round. But I normally don't drink my own stuff, so can't do that.
You don't get high on your own supply.
Not not usually.
Right.
Exceptions, of course. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, first of all, this is a South African Chenin. If
Yeah.
anybody is like wondering what region it's from South Africa. And their style of Chenin Blanc is different from the European traditional French Chenin Blanc that you would think of. And Chenin can be made, let me just say this, Chenin can be made in a really dry style, or it can
Mm-hmm.
be made as a dessert wine.
Yep.
This particular one is a dry white wine. However, it is extremely fruit forward. The fruit just bursts out of the glass. It's so present and it's not overwhelming.
No.
So if you have that cousin who's like, I only drink sweet stuff, this is one of those wines that can trick them. And unless they are like Kool-Aid sweet, then you can't do anything with them. This is one of those wines where you could have it with all of those things that you mentioned, and they would feel very comfortable drinking this wine with their meal, or with snacks like you said. I like it because it is that great cross, and I like how you said that, between a Sauvignon Blanc, for those who don't care for Sauvignon Blanc, and a Chardonnay. It's full body, so you're going to have that mouth full feeling, but it's not too light on the acidity too. So those who like that crispness, that acidic feeling to it, you're going to get some acid on this Chenin Blanc.
Yeah, Chenin always has freshness to it, whether it's made in all stainless steel and meant to be a crisper white like this one, or even when it's a sweet wine or an oak Chenin, there's always going to be that acidity. And acidity in wine translates into easier to pair with food and just more refreshing in general. If you have a wine that's low in acid, but is like full bodied or very sweet, it's just like heavy and cloying. This is still going to be refreshing. So you have that, you know, a bite of turkey, a sip of Chenin, and then you're going to be ready to have a bite of stuffing.
Right, right. And then, you know, also like, I like a fresh cranberry sauce. Some people were scarred by childhood and like it right out of the can.
I'm team Cannon. I'm team Cannon all the way.
Gross, man, gross. But this would go well because, like, I put little mandarin oranges in my fresh cranberry sauce and what have you. This is a perfect pairing with that. So I don't want a red to feel unwanted or what have you. But yeah. I love this. I love this red. It's the perfect body for this buffet of food that we're about to partake in. It's not super light. And so when you ask most wine people, oh, what should I have for Thanksgiving? What red? Immediately they say Pinot Noir. Noir, right? But share with people that there's options to Pinot Noir.
Yeah, absolutely. Pinot's great. I do love to have lighter style wines on Thanksgiving. But the tricky thing with Pinot is that it's very expensive to grow. It shows errors in the vineyard very, very easily. And then it's also very tricky to make. Again, it shows and I don't even want to say errors, just, you know, whether it's something in the vintage or things that are out of people's control or whatever that may be, it shows up in the final product. This is why you have Pinot Noirs that cost tens of thousands of dollars, because it is so darn hard to make. Other grapes are a lot more forgiving, so you don't need to spend so much money to have a high quality Pinot. And because Pinot is so finicky, when you buy a really cheap one, often they're not good. Like I've had some from the box that I won't say who had that literally to me tasted like sewage. And I am not snobby about box wine at all. Like my mom will get black box Cabernet. I'm very happy to have a glass of that and sit on the couch and watch, you know, Law and Order SVU with her. But the Pinot Noir is just so tricky. So this wine, it's made with Portuguese grapes. These are grapes that are used to sun. They're much more heartier. They're just not as finicky. And then in the bottle, you have a wine that it's more medium bodied than Pinot. It's not quite as light. It's not quite as fine. But guess what? For Thanksgiving, that's perfect, because something like your cranberry sauce, that's going to be really tart for Pinot Noir. Pinot and turkey, great. Love that. Pinot and sweet potatoes, like, I don't know. The sweet potatoes might be kind of sweet. Yes. So this wine is going to show more fruit. It's going to be a little bit fuller bodied, which will make your red wine, people who normally only want like a big heavy wine, it'll make them happy, but it won't actually overpower the meal the way that a Cabernet or a Malbec or a Shiraz might. It's a blend of 3 Portuguese grapes, which will be unfamiliar to most people, and that's fine. It's nothing to worry about. Everyone always asks me, so I'll tell you. It's Touriga Nacional, which is kind of similar to Cabernet Sauvignon. Forchera, which is a lighter bodied red in Portugal. It's probably most comparable to a Pinot Noir. and Torriga Franca, which is kind of similar. Or I'm not sorry, not Torriga Franca, Trincadera, which kind of hits between like Merlot, Cabernet. It's a little bit more of an earthier wine. So it ends up just being this really, really lovely blend. And they only use oak barrels that have been used to make other vintages of wine. So we call that neutral oak. So it just adds like a little bit of body, a little bit of spice, but not a whole lot of grip and dryness to it. So it's still going to be a very easy drinking wine on Thanksgiving. And certainly a red that you finish dinner, you want to sit on the couch and digest and watch football, just pour yourself another glass. I will.
It's too strong of a word.
Yeah.
But would be appropriately used, because it doesn't have, like you said, it doesn't have that grippiness. It doesn't have tannins where you're going to have to aerate it and have it sit open for a good hour at least before you serve it. You could, you should decant it, but if you didn't, it would be okay. And it isn't, again, like a Pinot Noir that has a high acidity level to it, where it's off-putting to those who are like, I just drink red. Red runs through my veins, and that's all I'm going to have. Somebody who enjoys something on a fuller side would have this. So if you had like a rack of lamb there, if you had, what is that? The Crown Roast. This would be good. It wouldn't, it wouldn't wimp out on the occasion. It would make you proud.
It would make the cut. I want to point out a kind of interesting coincidence with these wines that I hadn't realized before. One, they are all either woman-owned or woman-made, which that I did realize. So Copsict, the winemaker there is Katie Hattingley. She's amazing. She, just to give her a little promotion, she has her own wine brand called Rebel that has a small presence in the States now. I bought a bottle at a table. Her wines are fantastic, but she is the head winemaker at Copsict. Padre Pedro, so that's Casa Cadaval. They've been woman-owned and operated since World War II. And Quinta da Vesa, our port, is also woman-owned. The thing that I hadn't realized is they all have a horse connection. So the Padre Pedro has a horse on the label because the owner, Teresa, is a horse breeder. This is a tradition in this part of Portugal to breed these big, beautiful Lusitano horses, which used to be war horses on the Iberian Peninsula. Now they're used for dressage and show. Copsict has an employee that started a nonprofit where she rescues essentially horses who have been maybe abused or mistreated. They buy them, they have them at the property, and then she created a program where both adults and children with physical and mental handicaps come and ride the horses as a kind of therapy. And then Quinta da Vesa, they do not own horses, but because the slopes in the Douro are so steep, they can't do any kind of mechanical farming. So they hire this team of horses to come and plow the vineyards. And there's like one guy who has a horse herd who has trained his horses to walk backwards. So there are horses working on the property. So yeah,
that is cool. That is very cool. Yeah. That's a, it's so funny because the International Washington Horse Show was here where people all over the world came. It was in Prince George's County. And my parents went during the day. You could go for free. Okay. And they had a lovely time there. I think it's coming back again this time next year. So if people want to go, it's available for you. But yeah, so this area in Maryland is definitely horse country. Definitely horse country. Yeah. So this is my favorite. Yeah. This will be on my table. It's probably not appropriate to rub it in public, but this will definitely be on my dinner table. And I am this is another one. I am team sweet potato pie. Are you sweet potato or pumpkin?
I do both. My mom makes pumpkin. Being from the north, being from New York, sweet potato pie just wasn't really something that we did. But I've had sweet potato pie, and I do think I like it better than pumpkin pie. But I'm not about to ask my mom to change the recipe she's been for, however many years. And her pumpkin pie is delicious. So
I bet it is. I bet it is. So this is, I mean, like, this is what you should have with that.
Yes.
You definitely should have that with it. Or like if you have the candied yams on your plate, it's just magnificent. But then you also, I'm talking about this as a finisher for your meal, but this also could get the party started because you also make a great cocktail with this tawny port.
Great and very, very easy. So white port and tonic. It's actually a common aperitif in Portugal. It would just be basically 2 ounces of port, a little bit of bitters if you're feeling fancy, top, put ice in, top with tonic or soda water if you don't like tonic, and then maybe add like a little lemon peel, orange peel, something like that. It's just an easy aperitif cocktail. And it's not too strong, so if you have someone in the family who tends to overindulge, or you just want to enjoy beverages throughout the holiday, it's a really wonderful option to get the party started.
Yeah, you know what I think I'm gonna do. You did a video on that cocktail. I think I'm gonna do a video with it, just because.
You can also make a pumpkin spice martini with it. I did a video, maybe 2 years ago. You know what? I'll repost it to my feed.
Yeah.
I might have used the red port, but you could use either. That's a little bit more of a to-do. And it's kind of like gimmicky. But I don't know. I have to have that pumpkin spice latte at least once a year. I am very basic, and I need it. This is a little bit of an elevated way to do that, and a way to not give Starbucks your money.
Right. Yeah, they have enough money.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those who they enjoy port and they may not have had a tawny port before, can you explain to people what's the difference between a tawny port, a ruby port, and then your traditional port?
Sure. So we'll simplify it for sure. So basically, when you make a port wine, what you're going to do is start making a wine and then stop the fermentation early by adding in a neutral spirit, so alcohol, to it. The alcohol kills the yeast. Because the yeast hadn't finished fermenting, you have a lot of the natural sugars from the grapes that are still going to be in that wine. That is pretty much the basic process of making port. Now, when you make a port, you can decide, do I want to make a ruby port or do I want to make a tawny port? Ruby ports are going to look very purple in color, and typically the premium ruby ports will be associated with a vintage. So for example, 2018, Cadaval made their very first ruby port. All of the grapes were from 2018. They made the port, they aged it in giant oak casks at the winery for 2 years, and then they bottled it. Now, that port, well, you can drink it whenever you want. Traditionally, you would age it for decades in the bottle. But once that port is open, once you decide to pop the cork, you really should treat it like a regular wine, even though it's fortified. Like if you try to wait a week or so, it's gonna turn. It'll get vinegary. Tawny port, when you decide to make a tawny port, you add your spirit during the fermentation process, but then when you put that wine into these big oak casks, it stays there for literally up to decades. So that wine is very used to oxygen already because it has that oxygen exposure. And because of that oxygen interaction, it turns orangey or tawny. tawny ports, once they're bottled, those will, once they're bottled, because they're so used to oxygen, they're more shelf stable. So when you open that bottle, it's still good for a few months. So this is a great time of year to buy some tawny port, because it's getting colder out. Maybe you want to have a little glass of port with dessert on a random evening. You open that tonight. It's going to be good for Thanksgiving. It's going to be good for the December holidays. It's going to be good for New Year's. And quite honestly, it'll be good all through January and probably until Valentine's Day. So you have a longer shelf life, which also makes them handy for cocktails, because you don't have to worry about, oh, I want to open this to make a white port and tonic, but, oh, I just wasn't in the mood to drink port tonight. You're fine. Just stick it in the fridge and have it whenever you want to have it. Now with your port, whether it's ruby port or with port, you can use red grapes or white grapes. Ruby ports are always going to be red grapes, but you can make a white port. Tawny ports are more often, you'll see white tawny ports more often than you will white regular ports, but not all producers have the correct location in the Douro to grow white grapes. In some areas, it's just too hot for white grapes. Quinta da Vista is a little bit cooler climate relative to the Douro, so they actually grow quite a few white grapes, and they're expanding because their white port does so well.
Yeah, that's a lot. Thank you. First of all, thanks for that explanation. And I had thought that you use white grapes for the tawny port, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't want to say. The other thing I wanted to clarify, and please keep me honest, this is a 10-year-old tawny port. And from my understanding, the age is not necessarily how long it aged, but what a 10-year-old port should taste like at 10 years. So when the port master, and I'm making up that title, decides this is what it's going to be, the age for it, that's what it's based on, and not necessarily it's set in the cask or barrel for 10 years. Is that correct?
Exactly. It's usually roughly an average, because these giant casks have multiple vintages in them. So Devesa calls the guy the master blender. So the master blender will have a barrel, and when I say barrel, I'm talking like this thing would go up to my ceiling, or bigger. He'll have an idea, like, I want to do my 10 years here, I want to do my 20 years here, 30 years here, and so on. So it is an average age. There'll be some port in there that's less than 10 years, maybe even just a year or two. There'll be some port that might be 20 or 30 years old in there. It's a bunch of vintages together. And if that master blender and the winemaking team decides, you know what, we're going to bottle, and we think this is good enough to be called a 10-year port or a 20-year port, they will submit one of those bottles to a board in the Douro Valley who will taste and say, yes, you can call this a 10-year port, or no, you can't. This just goes on the shelf as a white tawny with no age designation. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm in the warehouse where the magic happens some days if we get it right. So Darius is here, and he's trying not to be on camera, but I just want to say out loud, it is okay to walk behind me, Darius, while we're doing this. The other thing that I wanted to say, I have made pound cake.
Oh.
One of my specialties, and I think it's like 7 flavored pound cakes, but sometimes it's 6. It's just depending on what's in the cabinet at the time. And this goes extremely well with this. So don't just think of those like root vegetable desserts, but you can also have. Now, what I will say is something that is sweet but kind of bland at the same time, where you buy those store-bought cakes. Not so much. Like a white birthday cake.
Yeah, something very like saccharine.
Right.
No, but the Portuguese do love sugar. They love pastries. They love custards. So dessert
Yes.
like that would work very well. Like a custard, a pastry, like an almond tort, that kind of thing. And honestly, I'll also do cheese and those Spanish almonds that I never remember the name of.
Oh, Morcona.
Yes, I call them Macarena, which is not correct. Yeah.
Those are delicious. And I was just thinking, like, you don't necessarily have to save this for dessert. A cheese. I'm thinking if you make a corn pudding that you're serving, definitely if you have this poor man, he was trying to say charcuterie and he could not say it. You could have this again, not for just the ending, but the beginning of your meal. You can have it with a charcuterie board. So don't let this dissuade you. But with all of that said, and I know I just did this impromptu.
Wait, I have one more pairing
Uh-huh.
because I think I'm going to do this tonight now that you got me thinking. I was gifted some cupcakes from Cupcake & Co. in Elkridge, Maryland. This is a carrot cake cupcake, white fork carrot cake. That's going to be good.
Yeah, that will do perfectly. I'm just thinking like going to someone's house and I see the dessert table. So if you have like a 7-Up cake, a sakatumi cake, those ooey gooey muffins. I'm not saying like in the morning when you're getting started, but it could help you throughout your day. That would go very well with this. So with that being said, like I know budgets are tight. People haven't received paychecks or what have you. This 3-bottle combo is not going to break the bank. I think we put it at like 70. That's a shame. I should know.
I think 75.
It's 75 for these 3 that you can bring to the house, that you can have a cocktail party with, that you can serve for Thanksgiving. So you can have all of the bases covered there.
Yeah, and that's a great price because the port alone, I've seen it retail, especially in Montgomery County, at $45, and people buy it. So I think that's a price to take advantage of.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because by itself is, and the other thing you'll notice that this is 500 liters. So it's much smaller than
milliliters. Yeah,
milliliters. Excuse me. Oh yeah, 500. I wouldn't be able to lift it. It's 500 milliliters. So a little goes a long way. Not only does it last for a long time, but you don't need a full pour.
No, and it's 20% ABV. So if you pour yourself a full pour, just buckle in.
You'll just be sitting at the game.
Yeah.
After you finish. Well, thank you so much. This is on our site. We're going to be sharing because I just think that this is such a great buy. And thank you for always taking me up on my wild and crazy ideas. To promote the wines.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed talking to you as always. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.